Nothing, and I genuinely mean nothing could give me chills like this photo. So this picture that I sourced, it came from the Elderwood Bed and Breakfast that's located in Louisiana, and it was taken by this woman right here, Meredith Den, and sent to her husband. It's the middle of the night and she's hearing things down the hallway, so she took this picture and sent it to her husband, not even realizing what she caught in the frame. But before we get into it, if you're not already, please make sure to go check out my podcast, the creepiest one you know, Creep Time the Podcast. I've got the link in the bio and it's available on Spotify and Apple. Now, in the background of this photo, she had captured something that most people find very difficult to explain. If you look to the top left of the photo, there is a figure that is watching her from the stairs. And it's not even clear from this photo if what she captured was an actual person who was watching her, because I feel like she would have seen them. But I don't know, the closer you get to this photo, the more unnerving it becomes, because it almost looks like somebody with their full jaw unhinged.
This girl accidentally summoned a demon. Watch closely.
Baby.
So the dad heard giggling coming from the bedroom and went to investigate. It was just him and his daughter at home. So he freaked out when he saw this chick. Cause is that a demon or what? For more spooky content, check me out on YouTube, link in bio.
Pictures with terrifying things in the background. The last one has gotta be the creepiest. As you can see in the picture above me, there's two girls just having a good time and enjoying themselves. But if you look closely, you can see a third girl is standing there menacingly. Now this picture is the inside of a burnt down building. Now it's not very creepy by itself, but when you zoom in closer, there's something staring at you. But before we get to the last one, make sure to double tap the video. Now this picture looks absolutely normal, just a girl in her room taking a selfie. But there's something under the mattress watching her. Hit the plus button for a part 2.
Back to the comment. You said that you don't like to fly commercial because you don't want to get into a tube with a bunch of demons. Do you really believe that human beings are demons?
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but principalities and powers.
Can you explain what you meant by that term then? Just explain, because it's really simple. You said you didn't want to get into a tube with a bunch of demons. What did you mean?
I've got another super creepy video for you guys. Make sure you pay close attention. Who the hell is that? Apparently it was just a group of girls at the park having fun at night, and when they reviewed the footage, they saw they had a little stalker. Safe to say I'm not sleeping tonight.
This is Slenderman. Most of you are probably already familiar with him. He became an internet sensation in 2009. But did you know that he's also responsible for attempted murder? In 2014, two 12-year-old girls in Wisconsin lured their friend into the forest where they stabbed her 19 times. The victim was able to crawl out to the road where she got help and was sent to the hospital. Thankfully, she pulled through. The two girls pled guilty, but they served no time in jail for their crimes. Instead, they were sent to mental health facilities. When the two girls were questioned by police, one of them said the reason they did what they did was, quote, "Many people believe Slenderman isn't real. We wanted to prove the skeptics wrong."
This story keeps me up at night, and it's a real one. So in the early 90s, a woman named Jerry went to a psychotherapist named John Mack because she was having recurring nightmares of UFOs. Then one night, her 2-year-old son started screaming in terror in his room. She ran in to check on him, and he claimed that owl monsters were touching his legs. And when she asked where the owl monsters were now, he claimed that they were in a boat in the sky. So Jerry starts thinking that maybe her family is being visited by aliens. She kind of brushed it off at first, but then one night her daughter has this experience. She was practicing reading for school and she had to time herself in 10-minute intervals and see how far she could read. So she's timing herself for 10 minutes, marking how far she read, timing herself for 10 minutes, marking, timing herself for 10 minutes, and then she looks up and an hour has gone by. There's 50 minutes of time she can't account for, which apparently is kind of common in people who have been visited by aliens. I talk more about this story and other alien encounters on my podcast this week. And we hear a story from someone whose grandfather was visited by aliens in the 60s.
Nothing could have prepared me for the end of this story. So when I was little, I used to always complain about a scratching noise coming from the room next to me. My dad actually converted the guest bedroom next to my room into a home office, and I was never allowed in there. He was a really busy man. One night, I was laying in bed, unable to sleep, when I thought I heard a small sob come from his office. I could faintly make out the sound of a woman crying, but I knew I wasn't allowed to go in there. And honestly, at that point, I was kind of too afraid to anyways. The next day, I told my dad what I had heard, and he told me it was probably just a bad dream. But that didn't make any sense to me because I knew what I had heard. My dad spent the entire day in his office that day. I didn't see him come out once. The next night, I waited until my father was asleep, and I did what I knew I shouldn't do. I went into his office. And when I opened the door, there were no books. There was no desk. There wasn't even a single chair. Just scratched into the walls a million times. Help me.
On February 19th of 1994, 31-year-old Gloria Ramirez was rushed to a California emergency room. She was reportedly severely confused and experiencing heart palpitations, but the medical staff noticed something was wrong here. Her skin had a sheen to it like it was slicked with oil, and her mouth had an odor of fruit and garlic. They also noticed that when they drew her blood, it reeked of ammonia and had crystal-like particles in it. But then the unusual happened. One by one, the medical staff began to pass out around her. In total, there were 23 people who fell ill, so the ER was completely evacuated as it was believed, for an unknown reason, her body was toxic. Following her death shortly after, examiners autopsied her in hazmat suits, but were perplexed to find virtually nothing unusual in her system. There were unusually high levels of dimethylsulfone, but it's unclear what that may have contributed here. Although mostly attributed to mass hysteria, many believe there was something with her body that caused this.
If you've ever seen this man, you may be cursed. So around 2009, a man by the name of Jacob Fairchild was doing a human experiment in an old insane asylum. The experiment was to see if the subjects could stay awake for an entire month playing a computer game that he designed. But the people that were doing this experiment were not heard from afterwards. Jacob was apparently losing his mind while conducting this experiment. He started wearing a mask covered in eyes, calling himself the Timekeeper. This is an image that a former staff member had drawn of him. Eventually, legend has it, he went so crazy he locked everyone inside the facility and burned it down, killing everyone, including himself. But as the place was burning down, he threw himself over a computer server that had the game on it, and it was the only thing not damaged by the fire. Recently, it's been reported that the game Jacob created has been randomly resurfacing on people's computers. To this day, 2 of the teens that reported playing the game have died, 3 have gone missing, and 1 reported seeing this person upon starting the game. And no one who has ever played the game has won.
This is the truth behind the Tooth Fairy. Now everyone knows who the Tooth Fairy is. Once you lose a tooth, you put it under your pillow and she comes in the middle of the night to take it and give you money. But what if I told you the Tooth Fairy is much more scarier than that? And that the Tooth Fairy has a much darker backstory. The story goes that a kid lost 2 of their teeth in the same day and proceeded to tell her parents that she lost both of her teeth. Now this was the first time she ever lost any teeth, so her parents told her what to do with them and put them under her pillow for money. So she proceeded to do that, and a couple hours later she was getting ready for bed. Her parents tucked her in and she was about to fall asleep, but that's when she sees her door creak open. It's super dark in her room so she can't see anything, but she squints her eyes to look at the doorway and sees something standing there. But then her door proceeds to fully open and you won't believe what was at the door. Hit the plus button for a part 2.
I think I'm screwed. I did a whole video on YouTube about them. I've done like a million TikToks. I have said the name Skinwalker so many times. Like and follow to see what happens to me.
Take a look at this screenshot. This is a child on a TikTok live stream, masked and holding a piece of paper that says in Arabic, "I want to buy a PlayStation." This child has been sitting in the live stream for hours. Not one breath was heard, nor a single muscle was moved for hours during this live. And of course, many innocent viewers were lured into this live, donating gifts so this child can buy a PlayStation. You see, this is way darker than what you guys think. For all that you know, this child could be abducted or forced by his own family to do this. This child has evidently been forced and suffocated inside of a mask to be a bait for innocent viewers. I have personally seen things like this on the dark web. I've seen live streams very similar to this one. I feel so bad and so disgusted. Unfortunately, there are no identities in this page that we can report. If you see this live, report it. This child's been sitting there for hours and probably doesn't even know what the paper says.